Okay, so right off the bat, what I have planned is, so you've rated Magic cards. This is going to be a little different because it's going to be in a format called Commander.
Okay.
So the big difference with Commander is when you're just playing normal Magic, you're trying to like eliminate your opponent and just like really optimize strategies for that. In Commander, you're more worried about resource generation and just trying to ramp up and get like a really big combo or something really big. But Commander is more based around value, because if I build a really fast deck in Commander, I have 3 different opponents, as Commander is played with 4 people rather than just 2.
Okay.
So you can't just be focused on eliminating one opponent. You have to be getting like a really strong board state.
When I did the previous version of this, a lot of the comments were like, you should do this for Commander. So this actually works out really nicely.
Because all the 15 cards I have are different commanders. And here's what a commander is. A commander is a card that you can always play no matter what, and it's in its special zone, and you can just play it. If it dies, you can play it again, but it'll cost 2 more for each time it's died.
Okay, this is going to be very interesting. Okay.
All right, here is the first one. And I'm going to tell you something about this right away. So you're limited to, there's different colors in Magic the Gathering. You're limited to which colors you can use based on your commander's colors.
Right.
This card right here doesn't have any colors, so you have to use all generic cards, which are typically a bit weaker.
Oh, interesting. So there's no colored mana here. It's just blank mana?
Yep.
Okay, interesting. Wow. It's a good question to ask too. How much mana are you, like, on average do you put into a commander deck? Because I'm assuming you still have to draw it, right?
Yeah, so like one of the things about commander deck is that, like what I said, they're based a lot more on long-term strategies. So at the beginning of commander games, typically players like make moves to like get themselves ahead in mana, like play cards like you see Soul Ring there. I play that and it gets me more mana. So typically decks can have like higher cost cards are a lot better in Commander, where like an 8 cost spell in like normal Magic the Gathering is like, okay, that's kind of hard to play, but in Commander it's a lot more reasonable to play that. So bigger cost isn't as bad in Commander, pretty much.
Okay, I'm gonna warn you right now, I'm really bad at pronouncing names, so this is gonna be miserable for some of these. Emrakul, I guess. Emrakul.
I just call him Emrakul. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Okay. All right, legendary creature. So Eldrazi, is that like its type? It's been a while since I've looked at Magic cards. I just gotta double check here.
The type isn't really gonna matter too much. So, but yeah, it is the type.
Okay, so this spell can't be countered. It's important to note that minions count as spells in Magic, right? I'm assuming it's the same thing with Commander cards. They count as spells.
Anything that's not a land is a spell, and land is just like mana. Okay,
so when you cast a spell, take an extra turn after this one. Oh my god. Flying, protection from spells that are 1 or more colors, Annihilator 6. Okay, what is Annihilator 6?
So Annihilator 6 is if I attack an opponent with this card, they have to sacrifice 6 of their things.
On board or in their hand?
On board.
Ooh, and if they don't, they just take damage? Sorry, I mean if they physically can't, like if there's not enough cards on the board.
If they can't, then they just don't.
Oh, okay.
Because they can't pay the cost.
Okay. When Emrakul is put into a graveyard from anywhere, its owner shuffles their graveyard into their library, and it's 15/15. Wow. This is already a pretty spicy one, man. Okay, so this spells can't be countered. I'd imagine that's really powerful. Like you said, every single card is a spell besides lands, which means, can you counter commanders? I guess you could, right? If you want to replay it. Interesting. Right, so do you have like, maybe I'm just not comprehending this. Do you have like an actual health behind the commander?
You have a health as a player.
Oh, okay, understandable. That makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah,
okay.
and in Commander, the health, normal Magic is 20 health. Commander, you have 40 health.
Okay, so your commander is basically like your hero, but you are, okay, that makes a little bit more sense. Okay.
And then, I should probably say, there's a lot of background information, but that'll be sort of out of the way after this card. But protection means it can't be targeted by anything of like a spell, pretty much.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so it's been a while since I've rated Magic cards, but I do know that and this is probably from Yu-Gi-Oh as well, that spells can't be countered. This spell can't be countered is a really good effect. Usually if you can counter a spell like this, it's probably going to be pretty great. When you cast a spell, take an extra turn after this one. So in Hearthstone, there's a card called Open the Waygate, which was a very powerful effect to take an extra turn, basically doubling your mana, because I imagine all your mana gets untapped after you play this, right?
Yep, at the start of your next turn, yeah.
Yeah, so that's a very, very good thing. That's taking 2 turns in a row is one of the most powerful things Hearthstone's ever done. I would imagine it's very similar in Magic. I can't imagine that's bad. The protection from spells that are 1 or more colors in Annihilator 6 is very interesting. I actually don't know how good that really is?
Pretty much the protection just means that, like, I'm simplifying this a bit, but it's pretty much like, what's it called in Hearthstone when something can't be targeted by spells?
It actually doesn't have a keyword. It just says like this thing can't be targeted by spells. Yeah,
it's pretty much like that. There is a bit more that it can do, but that's the general way to think of it.
Okay, cool. Wait, that's actually insane, right? I would imagine that this card is probably pretty great. I've never seen any commanders in my life.
Yeah.
I'm going to assume that this is a pretty good commander. Like if you're starting out, this is a good commander to put as your.
How many flamingos?
Oh yeah, the flamingo scale. Forgot about that. I'm going to give it like 3.5 out of 5 flamingos.
Okay, 3.5 out of 5. So this card does cost 15, and like I said, you don't get all the colors in Magic the Gathering. However, there are thousands of cards in Magic the Gathering that are legal in Commander, and there's less than 100 that are banned. This one is banned.
Oh shit! Because it's that powerful. Like
it's that powerful. Your opponents just can't do anything when you play this. Like you,
right.
I should also have mentioned this. Taking 21 damage from a commander, you lose the game.
Oh.
Pretty much, and yet this card can also. There's a lot of combos with this. So if I'm already able to play this, if I can bounce this back to my hand on the extra turn that I get and play it again, I can just make an infinite combo pretty easily and just win the game outright with infinite turns with this card.
So is this card banned because of the extra turn, or is it banned because it just can't be countered? Like they both seem
because
like...
of the extra turn is the big part of it, but with it can't being countered and it just having protection and just being an absolutely just brutal card, that's part of the reason why this card is banned. But the big part is the extra turn on a creature body.
You said how many cards are in Commander to playable? Like how many playable cards are there?
Thousands. Like pretty much every card is legal in Commander aside from a very few amount.
And then you said 100 are banned, and this is one of the cards?
It's like it's less than 100. I don't know exactly.
Oh my god!
And this is one of them. Yeah.
Okay, sick. Wow, off of the banger, man. All right. Oh my god, what is this name? Kalea? Like what?
I think it's Kaliha. But honestly, like I said, once again, I really don't know.
Whenever Kalea attacks an opponent, you may put an angel, demon, or dragon creature from your hand onto the battlefield tapped and attacking that opponent. Okay, just so I'm clear, when it says tapped, that means you use its effect, right?
Yeah, you're wait, tapped means that like it's already attacking. If my opponent tries to attack me back, I can't use it. Do you know how attacking and blocking works?
Yeah. So okay. Just to make it clear for people who don't know, if your minion is tapped, you can't block the following turn. That's what it was, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So she's also a 2/2. So this one looks significantly weaker than the previous one. It's obviously a lot less costly to put her into the battlefield. Having flying is probably good. If I learned anything from Hearthstone, mana cheating is the most broken thing in the game by far. There's never anything close to how good mana cheating is. I don't know if that's the same thing in Magic, but I'm going to imagine that if you're going to put this card into your deck, you're going to have some big angels, demons, or dragons just to have in your hand at all times. Which means if that's attacking directly to your opponent, that could be really big. I don't know any stats on any of those cards, but I would have to imagine that effect is very, very powerful. If I remember correctly, your creature can't attack the first turn it is played, correct?
There's a keyword called haste, then yes, it can attack, but most of the time, no, it can't.
Okay, so haste, I'm assuming, is like charge on Hearthstone? Yeah, okay. I'm gonna go with like on the flamingo scale, like a 2 out of 5. I could see this being good, and this is also in no context of any angels, demons, or dragons. I'm gonna go with 2 out of 5.
Okay, so I'd say that maybe this card's a little better than that, but I'm about to make a ton of people angry. I just want you to know because people really like this commander. This commander used to be a lot better, but it's just sort of like fallen out of favor a bit. It is good mana cheating. That is correct. Like mana cheating in Magic is super good. But the thing is that like Commander is basically like a format that's a lot more slow and about resource generation. It's not actually generating any new resources. It's just getting you something out of your hand and cheating it, which is really powerful and really good. But not a bad commander by any means, but it just doesn't do enough in terms of like it's more based around speed rather than like a long-term strategy, and that's one of the reasons it sort of falls flat sometimes.
Makes sense. You know what? If you put this card first, comparatively, I would have rated it a lot higher. But the other card looks like the turbo nuts compared to this card.
A lot of people are going to be mad that I say Kalia of the Vast is overrated. I want you to know that.
Okay. Oh, God. Oh, my God. What is this? Johoria?
Joyra.
So she is 2 neutral, 1 white, 1 red. Or is that blue? I think that's white, though, right? Yeah, white.
No, it's blue.
That is blue. Okay. So 2 neutral, 1 blue, 1 red. Whenever you cast a historic spell, draw a card. What is a historic spell? Is that just a type of spell?
There, it says like artifacts, legendary sagas, and are historic. Pretty much what this card is based around is just like artifacts.
Yes. Okay.
An artifact can really, they're always pretty much colorless mana. They can be things that get you more mana. They can make little things for you. Artifacts can draw you cards. Sometimes they're just like creatures.
Okay. Can I ask you a question? How many cards do you have in your deck?
Oh, so I probably should have mentioned that. Commander is 100 cards, and you can't have any duplicates.
Okay, based on that, what you just said, I would imagine this card is very good because drawing and getting consistency in your game plan is probably really important. You probably remember from Hearthstone, Highlander is a really interesting archetype. And one of the reasons why that archetype can be powerful is if you could draw through your deck. Because you want to find those Reno Jacksons or whatever. This is almost the same thing, right? Like you're putting this into your deck to draw artifacts and consistently draw from your deck. One question, can you have more than one commander in your deck?
I don't know. No, well, there are some cases where you can have partner commanders where it's like two different commanders that are combined, but you usually only have one.
Okay. I would say, based on that knowledge, that this card is still really good. At a flamingo scale, my dude, this is like a 4 to 5. I would imagine this is very powerful.
That's pretty accurate, though. This card is super powerful because your ability to play like artifacts that get you mana, that draw you cards, and then play more artifacts, it's this snowball effect that's really powerful and can, like, you could honestly win on like, I've seen like win on turn 5 with this commander. Like, it can be super crazy with this. Because like, here, let me show you another card. A card like Soul Ring, where I play that, I net mana and I get another card and I just keep going.
Ew, yeah, that's disgusting. Oh,
and then I can have more cards where it's like, well, now I have like 50 artifacts. And then I have a card like, oh, hey, for every artifact you have, do this. Or for every card you play, do this. And I'm playing like 1,000 cards per turn. So it's this snowball effect that just absolutely ramps up and is completely insane.
So, okay, awesome. I feel like I'm doing pretty good here. I'm kind of stoked about it.
Yeah, you're doing pretty well.
Nikasar? Oh my, this sounds like a Pokemon.
I don't know. Nekusar, the Mind Raser.
I don't know. Okay, 2 neutral, 1 blue, 1 black, 1 red. Okay, so this is a zombie wizard. At the beginning of each player's draw step, the player draws an additional card. Okay, really interesting. Whenever an opponent draws a card, deals 1 damage to that player. Wow, this is kind of cool. So this is almost like a mill archetype, I would imagine, when it draws a card. So
one thing to mention is, I think I mentioned this before, but 21 damage from a commander immediately eliminates a player.
So I would imagine in Magic there is a mill archetype. I'm assuming just the case. And whenever an opponent draws a card, deal 1 damage to that player. That feels like it's really good. In Hearthstone, at least, they've been pretty good about printing cards that are not just neutral draw for your opponent as well. Seems to be more of like a one-sided thing. Magic, because there's more like interaction, I would imagine that they're okay with printing more cards like that.
I will let you know, nobody really plays like mill in Commander. It's more so what you're trying to do is the deal 1 damage to that player, because you're going to deal 21 damage with this way quicker than you could mill out every other player at the board.
I see. Is mill like frowned upon in Commander? Is there just like
It's just like, I have to, in normal games, it's like, yeah, you can mill out 1 other player, but in Commander, it's like, I have to mill out 3 other players, and that's like 300 cards in total between all my other players, and that just gets to be a lot more difficult.
That seems like a really powerful effect to have. It's 2 damage every single turn. Drawing an extra card, though, does give them additional resources, but it gives you the additional resource, so I think it's a good trade-off. I'd probably give this like a 2.5 out of 5 flamingos. I could see this being better, but I'm going to go for that.
Yeah, this card is not great, I'm going to be honest.
Okay.
So basically, when you're trying, if your entire strategy is based around getting your opponents more cards to kill them, the big problem with that is that you're giving them cards that they can use to deal with you.
Yes.
So if somebody's like, okay, I'm taking a lot of damage from this card, but I just drew 15 cards. Well, there's probably going to be something in those 15 cards to actually deal with this commander and take it out.
Makes sense. Yeah. Makes sense. That one's tough because it's really hard to like gauge what a commander game is like from not playing it.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
These are cool, man. Some of these effects are awesome.
Yeah, I made them all myself.
Oh, sick, dude. How long have you been doing that for?
All right, next commander.
Okay, Edgar Markov. So 1 red, 1 white, 1 black. Okay, this is another vampire knight. Whenever you cast another vampire spell, if Edgar Markov is in the command zone or on the battlefield, create a 1/1 black vampire creature token. First strike and haste. First strike means they hit first before your opponent gets to respond, right?
Yeah, so like if I block this with a 4/4, this card would attack the 4/4, kill it, and the 4/4 would not be able to deal damage back to Edgar.
Whenever Edgar attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on each vampire you control. Whoa, so this is a very scaly card. Wow. Oh my god, whenever you cast another vampire spell. So again, I'm assuming you're gonna build a vampire deck around this card. Like if
Yes.
this is your commander, you're turbo nuts this card. Dude, this is a very scary card because I don't know if this is a value game and this card's on the board, this is infinite value theoretically, depending on how many vampire spells you have, and it only gets stronger.
Okay, so the Eminence ability, that is always active, even if he's in the command zone. He doesn't have to be on the field.
Okay, so I should have asked this question too. If they're in the command zone, do they get to attack?
No, they're just sort of there. It's like a card in your hand, but it's just sort of in its separate little area.
Can you move it to the battlefield? Or is it?
Yeah, that's how you just like, pretty much just think of it as like, it's just in your hand, but your opponent can't mess with it. They can't touch it. They can't do anything. They can't make you discard it. Nothing.
Interesting. Okay, that makes it a little bit more. I feel like this is good, man. This is a lot of vampires because you don't need this to swing until you have enough vampires on the board to just absolutely do whatever you want. Also, every vampire you summon is an additional block, potential additional block, which is very, very important in Magic to protect yourself or whatever. God, I feel like this is really good. I can't imagine just summoning 1/1s for free is bad. Like infinite 1/1s that potentially get even stronger if you just want to swing with this card. It's probably like 3.5 flamingos out of 5.
Okay. Yeah. So this card I'd say is a little better than that. And the main reason why is the designers regret this one ability at the top, Eminence. That's something that the designers have said they regret because there's nothing your opponent can do to stop an Eminence ability. It is always there. Because like I said, they can't mess with them if they're in the command zone. You always have access to that ability. So you start the game with some advantage. And that's what makes this card really good is that you always have that no matter what. The 1/1 creature token isn't insane, but it's the fact that you're getting it without doing literally anything.
Yeah, you're just playing the game. Like you're just having a good time. It's just an additional passive on your like hero, which is actually really powerful. And Hearthstone, dude, this would be giga broken. Like they would have to they would have to nerf this to the ground.
So I'm gonna tell you about this. There's a commander strategy called Voltron, and a Voltron is where you put all of your equipment and just everything, all your cards, to make your commander as powerful as possible.
Okay. Wyleth, Soul of Steel, 1 neutral, 1 red, 1 white. This is a human warrior that has trample. So trample, for people who don't know, is any additional damage over the thing that you're attacking's health it does to the hero, right?
Yes.
When this attacks, draw a card for each aura and equipment attached to it. Okay. Oh, hold on. So this is kind of like the what's her name from above? Jahora or whatever. Whatever her name is. Yeah. So this is probably really good. Draw a card for each aura and equipment again. I don't know what any of those really do, but I would imagine that.
I should probably. And aura equipment is just something that like you can attach to a creature and it'll give it a buff. Like, hey, it gets +2/+2. Hey, it has these new abilities now. Hey, it has hexproof or whatever.
Okay. And then equipment, I would imagine, is like making your attack stronger or health stronger.
Yeah, pretty much. The aura and equipment can pretty much have the same effects.
Okay. And this is, yeah, I have to imagine this is good because with trample, whenever you want this to attack and it's just hugely buffed, because they, like you said, they can't interact with your commander, right? So eventually, at some point,
if it's in the command zone, no. But once you play it, it's just like a normal card.
Right. Sorry. So, but you could buff this card in the command zone. I'm imagining, right? Like you just put.
No,
auras.
you cannot.
Oh, okay. Thank God I asked that question. Thank God. Yeah. That makes this significantly weaker because then your opponent can actually, interact with it. Now that card's significantly weaker. So on the flamingo scale, I'm gonna give it like a 1.5 out of 5. I feel like there's just better commanders than this.
I would say Willith is a little better than that, but he's not amazing. Like, he's a fun card that you build like a big Voltron deck for, and I actually have a deck for him, but he's not insane, and that's the big fault of a Voltron strategy is that, like, yeah, it can die. If you get a card that gives him, like, protection from something early on, he's really good then, but you usually don't.
Yeah.
The drawing cards is really massive on him, but if this card dies, like, 2 times, like, then you have to, it costs so much to replay him, and...
Yeah, it's just tough. Yeah, like the second you said to me, he has to be on the battlefield to play or equipment. That
if it could be from the command zone, that would be a very different story. I will remind you with this card too, is that your life total in Commander is 40, and this ability, that 4, that means you can pay 4 mana to activate that ability at any time at instant speed. So it can be done on your opponent's turn. So if I exchange my life total with this card's power, I can change it back before my opponent kills me.
Okay. Wow. Evra. So 4 neutral mana, 2 white. Lifelink is like lifesteal in Hearthstone, I imagine.
Yes. And you can overheal in Commander.
Can overheal. Okay, that's really important to know. So 4 neutral mana, exchange your life total with Evra. What? Okay, so you said 40. So if you exchange your life for 4 mana, this becomes a 440 if you haven't taken any damage.
A 44, yeah.
Oh my. Sorry. Oh my. I read that in the wrong. Oh my god. Wait, this is actually kind of insane. Wait, that's a really, really scary effect, and it has lifesteal too. So if I'm understanding this correctly, if you swap this your power with your life, you just get the life back?
Yeah.
Wait, isn't this just Giga broken? Like, what is this? How do you lose? As long as you can keep playing it, I don't understand how you die. You get lifelink on defense too, right?
Yeah.
This is 5 out of 5 flamingos.
Okay, this card is not that good.
What? Really?
Yeah, so pretty much, if I play this card, that's like 6 mana, I'm not going to have 40 health at that point. I will still have like 30 health, but it won't be that high. And also, in order to keep the exchange your life total with her power, you have to keep that 4 mana open at any time. So like, if it's the end of my turn, I have to choose to keep 4 mana open to exchange with this in case my opponents try to do anything to mess with me.
I guess that's fair. Yeah. Okay. So I keep forgetting, like, when you interact with your opponent, you can like counter their spells and stuff, which means you need mana.
Yeah.
Like in Hearthstone, dude, like this is a must kill card. Like, if you have this on the board, you have to kill it. Otherwise you just can't win the game.
If this hits your opponent once, they just die. Absolutely. And you just get a ton of health. The problem is it doesn't end up hitting all that often, because your opponents know that and they're like, okay, yeah, I'm going to absolutely choose to deal with that rather than the 1/1 vampire.
Dude, that's such a crazy ability, though. There's got to be like times in Commander where you just absolutely smack your opponent and they just lose. It's got to feel so good. Interesting.
A big part of Commander is like building up for like big turns and just having absolute combos. But I do like this card, though. This is probably a 10 out of 10 on the fun scale.
All right. Kenrith, the Return King. Oh, this is kind of spicy. 4 mana neutral, 1 white. All creatures gain trample and haste until the end of the turn. So for 1 green, you could put a 1/1 counter on a target creature. So that just gives them +1/+1 in stats.
That's actually 1 colorless and then a green.
Oh, yeah. I see what you mean. Okay, I'm reading the nomenclature wrong. I see what you mean. Yeah, so fire is okay. Well, so 1 fire is all creatures gain trample and haste until the end of the turn, and then it's 1 neutral, 1 green, a 1/1 counter on a target creature. 2 neutral, 1. What? It's not white. Is that white?
Yeah, it's white.
Wait. Target player gains 5 life. For 3 neutral, 1 blue. Target player draws 1 card. 4 neutral, 1 black. Put target creature from graveyard onto the battlefield and under its owner's control. And it's a 5/5 stat line. Woo, oh my god. Flexibility is actually insane here. So this card you would put into your deck for the versatility, but I don't know in Commander if you want to put like that many different manas into your deck.
So here's the thing about Commander is like you can choose any of the colors. You don't have to build this card with 5 colors. You can choose to just be like, well, you have to do white to play the card, but I could just do white and black, or I could do white, black, and blue.
Can I ask you a question? How relevant is 5 life? Like, is that a really good skill to have?
It's not super amazing. It's sort of like Hearthstone, where it's like, yeah, if I have low health, it's gonna. There are cases where it can be very relevant, but it's not gonna be a game planning around life isn't the best thing in Commander.
All creatures gain trample and haste until the end of turn is pretty great. That feels like that could be very powerful because you could play that first and then play some creatures and then, trample and haste, maybe kill your opponent. That seems pretty good. Putting a 1/1 counter on a target creature feels a little weak. I don't know if I really want to spend 2 mana for +1/+1. That feels bad. Gaining 5 life. That's why I asked, because I don't know how relevant 5 life is. Is it hard to gain 5 life? It seems like it's not. Or it's not that important. So again, doesn't seem very worth it. Target player draws a card. That's not horrible. Again, card draw is really good in a 100 card deck, but I feel like that's a little slow. Now, the last one, put a target creature from a graveyard onto the battlefield. If we're going for resources in Commander, this is endless resources, if I'm understanding this correctly, as long as you could spend the mana for this every single time. You kill it, your creature dies, you just put it back in. I'm leaning towards this is really good. Like, just because the black one, I don't care about the rest of them. It has to be good. How is that bad? I'm going to go with 4 out of 5 flamingos. Potentially
I wouldn't say this card is, I'd say that's pretty good, but like maybe 4 flamingos a little closer. I don't know. Like I said, this is going to be very subjective, and people are going to get very angry in the comments. Hi, people in the comments. But this card is one of the most popular commanders because, like you said, there's so many ways you can build this, and there's so many things you can do. I have the exact same reaction to you when I look at this card as I really like the last ability to put a creature card onto the graveyard. So if I did build this deck, it would probably be white and black. But this card is pretty good just because of the general versatility you get. And yeah, the other 3 abilities aren't great, but there's something that you can do, and it's always just something that you have an option where you're always going to be doing something with your mana with this card.
Okay, yeah,
it's a pretty good card just for versatility's sake.
Yeah, exactly. So versatility in Magic is probably pretty great. I'm gonna just imagine, right? If a card does multiple things, you're pretty stoked about it. Okay, cool.
So I'll tell you one thing about this card. This is actually my first commander deck that I made.
Okay. Just a little sidebar here. In Magic Arena, you can't actually play commander, right? It's only an in-person thing?
No.
Okay. Joda? Yeah, I think it's Joda, right?
Yeah, Joda.
Okay. 1 neutral, 1 blue, 1 fire, 1 white. It's a human wizard. It has flying. You may pay. I'm assuming it's all those manas. It's not just one.
Yep. It's one of each mana.
One of each mana, non-neutral. It has to be all colors. You may pay all that mana rather than pay the mana cost for spells that you cast. Rather than pay the mana cost. Oh, wait. So if you tap all those manas, your spells cost nothing that turn for one spell.
Yeah. And you can do that as many times as you want. So I have any spell I can choose to pay that rather than the spell's cost. It can choose either or for as many spells as I'd like.
Wait, that is so interesting, man. See, this one is, I wish I had more context of spells because some spells maybe cost an insane amount of mana, right? And if you just can pay that instead, this might be just broken because it's just mana cheating. Dude, I feel like this is a hard bait. Is this actually good? You have to have all of those manas to use that effect, right? If you're not building your deck in this specific way, you can't, there's no way this works. So consistency is a huge deal. Consistency is a really big deal for this. Because if you don't draw all those manas, this card technically is just a 4/3 flying. And that's probably pretty bad. Oh my God, this is so tough. Because if you get this in play and you can pay those manas, this is probably one of the greatest commanders in the game. But it's all about consistency, right? And a 100-card deck.
I will tell you one thing. I'm going to put there's a lot of cards like this, but I'm going to put one card in the chat that's a hint. And there's a lot of cards that have similar effects to this.
Okay, so this is a spell. Oh, this is a land. Okay. Evolving Wilds. Tap, sacrifice Evolving Wilds. Search your library for a basic land card. Put it on the battlefield tapped and shuffle. Oh my God. Okay, hold on. Wait, that makes it a lot better. And you said there's a lot of cards like this?
Yes, some are better, some are worse.
This is tough. There's not really a card like this in Hearthstone. I'm going to assume if there's cards like Evolving Wilds, this is a 4 to 5 flamingos. Maybe.
Okay, yeah. So Joda is extremely good if you can get the effect off, as you said, because pretty much I can cheat out a spell, which is, if I pay 5 mana, I can play that spell so much sooner and so much more powerful. Let me give you a card that's an example. Zakama Primal Calamity. I play this, I untap all my lands.
Oh my God. Okay.
And you get a massive card like that. And just the thing is, you have more time in Commander to get these things. I have a Joda Archmage Eternal deck right now. It has been upgraded since when I originally built it. It is banned with my playgroup to play it anymore. And about half the deck is just to fix the mana.
Wait, what do you mean by it's banned? They don't allow you to play it anymore? They're like,
they would allow me, but I feel like if I brought it out, I would hear a groan.
It makes sense, man. It makes sense.
I could honestly nerf it, but I don't want to, so...
That's so funny.
It's an extremely powerful commander. And like I said, I am technically biased, because yes, I do play this card.
Dude, I'm sorry. I'm just laughing at it's just banned in your friend group. That's so funny. They're like, Noah, you gotta stop. We're not playing against this anymore.
That wasn't exactly said, but there were strong hints of that being the nature of it. And I decided one day to bring this to just a Magic the Gathering play night at my college. And I brought along my one friend who doesn't play Magic at all. And he said when we were walking out, we just started laughing because how unbelievably brutal the deck is that I have made for this.
Did you win that night? I would imagine.
Oh, I made them discard all their cards and I destroyed everything on the board. And
they didn't allow you to come back anymore, right?
Well, that wasn't said, but it felt like it.
Okay. Oh my God. Oh, Shieldred?
Shieldred.
Yeah. Okay. So this is 5 neutral, 2 black. Swamp Walk. This creature can't be blocked as long as the defending player controls a swamp. At the beginning of your upkeep, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, if that player sacrifices a creature, oh my god. So when it says sacrifice a creature, it has to be on board, correct?
Yes, and they do get to choose.
At the beginning of your upkeep. So this is like the previous card you showed me with the black mana and the 4 neutral, but this, you don't have to pay any additional mana for this. It's just once this card's in play, you just keep returning stuff from the graveyard. But you can't do it on your opponent's turn at that point, right? Because you can't tap it.
No, yeah. It just automatically activates at the start of your turn.
Now at the beginning of your opponent's upkeep, they sacrifice a creature. That's also just really good, right? Oh god, this is a really interesting card. So can your opponent interact with that? Or is it just they have to do it?
Interact with what?
Like if so when your opponent's upkeep happens and they have to sacrifice a creature, can they interact with that? Like, can they stop it, or does it just happen no matter what?
It just happens no matter what. Obviously, if they kill the commander or if they have nothing to sacrifice, then it's not going to happen. But it pretty much, there's no way to stop the ability. There are some cards that I think stop other cards' abilities, but for the most part, it's you would imagine it's going to happen.
Yeah, like this card is like I don't know. It's probably a term for Magic, but we call it like pseudo taunt. Like, you have to answer this card. Like, if you don't answer this card, you lose the game. And that makes me believe that this card's really strong. 5 out of 5 flamingos. Like, this has to be insane.
This card, nobody plays it as a commander.
But is it played?
So basically, it's not a bad card in commander, but as a commander, it's not that amazing. Because one thing about commander is that all of the cards I've showed you thus far, there's some sort of strategy you can build around them. And there is some strategy to have around like graveyard recursion with this. But to have that strategy, the big thing is that this card costs 7. So if this dies, then I have to pay 9 mana for it the next time. And after that, like, pretty much, I'm just spending my entire turn playing this card, which isn't amazing for me. Yeah. And as you said, pseudo taunt, this card gets, because when you play this card, all of your opponents start to work together really well to get you off the board. Like, it's a very powerful effect.
Right.
But this card always gets taken off the board immediately because you're pissing off every other player at the board. And chances are, out of the 3 other opponents you have, they usually have some kind of way to deal with this.
Yeah, so they all gang up on you when this card's played. That's so funny.
I think this card has the ability to return a creature from the graveyard to the battlefield. I think I've ended up using that once in Commander. It always gets killed.
Yeah, okay, that's really funny. Yeah, I didn't even consider like all your opponents could just be like, okay, guys, so we gotta work together on this one. Yeah. Like, this card needs to die immediately. If
you go like 2 rotations around the board with this card, it's unbelievably insane. You're getting 2 cards, your opponent sacrificed 2 creatures, and you have a 6/6. That's an unbelievable amount of value for 7 mana. But the thing is, that just doesn't happen because of the amount of players you just piss off.
All right, Krenko sounds
Krenko, mob boss.
Mob boss. So 2 neutral, 2 fire, or 2 red, sorry. So you tap this, create X 1/1 red goblin creature tokens, where X is the number of goblins you control. Whoa. So this just infinitely scales as long as you keep summoning goblins. So, but if you don't, I guess he's a goblin. He counts as 1, right? So you guarantee you get to summon at least 1.
Yep, and all the other goblins you make do count as well.
Oh my god. Wait, so this is like a very value-oriented card. It's also very cheap. So you can start scaling this pretty quickly. This is a 3/3 stat line. Again, I don't know how much the stats really matter. It seems like most of these you're going to be playing for just the effect.
Mostly you're playing for the ability, unless the card is specifically designed to like attack your opponent. The only stat that really matters more is just like toughness, I guess, because like how survivable is the card.
That's a really snowbally effect, and this is a very cheap card to summon, it seems like, compared to the other commanders. I mean, the problem with this card is I'm imagining this has to be in the battlefield for you to actually tap it, which means it's not nearly as good as Edgar, because Edgar is just, you have it there and it just does the 1/1 thing no matter what. So this card's worse than that card. Unless there is a very good spell that just interacts with goblin creatures that I'm just not aware of. But I can't imagine that that's nearly as scary as Edgar, so it has to be worse than him. Actually, how much was Edgar to summon?
Edgar was 5 mana in total. I
mean, it's still good. Like, your opponent has to respond to this. I can't imagine it's bad. There's no way this card's bad. Like, 3 out of 5 flamingos. I can't imagine this is not played at least once in a while.
I would say it's a little worse than that. The thing is that, like, this is kind of a trick card because a lot of goblins in Commander are just like not good. This card itself is yes, but there's not a lot of other goblins you can put in the deck.
Okay.
That are very good. And the goblins that it makes itself, it can't tap on the first turn it's out, and it just ends up being kind of slow. Also, every player plays some kind of board wipe in Commander. So it
sense.
just like it's not a bad Commander by any means, but because just goblins in Commander aren't great to just go off of that and have it be your entire board state. Here's one, and I'm just gonna say you should get this one right. All right.
Okay, it's a lot of pressure. Colossal Dreadmaw, 4 neutral, 2 green. This is a dinosaur. Trample. Oh, that's it. I was expecting more. Bad. 1 out of 5 flamingos. I swear to God, if you tell me this is good, I'm gonna be blown away. This is the same mana cost as Egger. 1 out of 5 flamingos.
Let me break this down for you.
Shit.
You're paying 6 mana for a 6/6 with Trample. There is no better value in Magic the Gathering than this. This is the best card ever made.
Wait, I can't tell if you're being sarcastic or not. There's no way
It's the best card ever. It's the best card, all right? People are going to talk crap as much as they want about it. This card is the best, all right? Nobody has ever found any better value. Let me show you something.
Let me break it down even.
Let me show you another card, all right?
Okay.
Which of these cards do you think would be better? Elder Gargoloth. Yeah, compared to Colossal Dreadmaw.
So this is 3 neutral, 2 green. Okay. Vigilance, Reach, and Trample. What is Reach?
Reach means it can block creatures with flying, but it doesn't fly.
Okay, whenever Elder Gargoth attacks or blocks, choose one, create a 3/3 green beast creature token. You gain 3 life or draw a card. What the hell? That card's infinitely better than the one you just showed me.
It is not. It is absolutely not. Colossal Dreadmaw is the best card in Hearthstone. That is just a fact.
Hearthstone.
And Magic the Gathering, and Yu-Gi-Oh, and Pokemon. Every card game, it's Colossal Dreadmaw.
Wait, when was this card printed? I feel like they have it 2020.
It's been printed a lot more than that. They've printed it like 20 times. That's why it's so good.
True.
People love it. It's a good card.
No, true. You're right. Yeah, it's I see your point now. Now that I see it, I get it. I get it.
Fun fact: I actually own over 200 copies of this card. 1 second, I'm gonna go show it on the webcam. I know you can't see it. Yeah, here's my Colossal Dreadmaw collection. Yeah, so like I said, I own over 200 of these. They're a really good card.
Oh.
The big thing about it is that it's a 6 mana, 6/6 with Trample, and that's really good. It's just solid.
All right. Well, I'm glad that you showed me the best commander in the game. That's what matters.
Yep, no problem. Okay, Kozilek the Great Distortion. I will tell you, this one's also colorless too, and this one is designed in terms of a Voltron commander deck, so you build this card just to like absolutely buff it up and make it as strong as possible to one-shot your opponents.
Okay. Kozilek?
Kozilek.
What is the mana in the top right there? 8 neutral and
so that it's 8 and then 2 colorless, so they have to be played with colorless mana, which all your mana is going to be colorless because you don't have any colors anyways.
Okay. So when you play this card, if you have fewer than 7 cards in your hand, draw cards equal to the difference. Oh, what does Menace mean?
Menace means it needs to be blocked by at least 2 creatures.
Oh, okay. And it does damage to both, I'd imagine, right?
Yes. So the way that blocking with 2 creatures work is once my opponent blocked with 2 creatures, I decide the order that they block in. And Kozilek, he doesn't deal damage to each one individually. He first deals as much damage as he can to the first one and then to the next. So let's say I'm attacking with a creature that has 3 power. And then my opponent blocks with a 3/3 and 2/2. My creature's going to do 3 damage to the 3/3 that blocks first, and then it won't have any more power that goes to the 2/2, if that makes sense.
Okay, I get what you mean. Okay. Discard a card with converted mana cost X. Counter target spell with converted mana cost X. Can you explain the bottom 2 lines there just so I understand fully?
Okay, yeah. So if my opponent plays a spell like, hey, I play this 5 mana creature, I can discard a card in my hand that costs 5.
Sure.
And converted mana cost is just the number of colorless mana plus whatever mana you have to spend on it. So this card would be 10 mana in total for the CMC. And then a card like Edgar, where he's 3 colorless and then a red, white, and black, that would be 6 mana.
If you have fewer than 7 cards in your hand, see, like that's really interesting. Like you get to draw cards from playing this card, which is also really interesting. Because I imagine if you can, maybe I should ask this question. You can play infinite cards in Magic as long as you have the mana for it, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's really interesting because you can go like play all your cards, play this card, and then you just draw a bunch of cards back into your hand. That's incredible.
I will say, like, just to make sure you know, like, when I use a land to make mana in Magic, that I can't use that land for the rest of the turn.
Yeah, because it's tapped, right?
Okay, okay.
Yeah. I would still think this is probably pretty great. I don't even think the stat line's relevant, but it does take, I guess because it has 12 toughness, it can be a little annoying to deal with. It might be a bait though. It might be absolute trash. It's somewhere in the middle. I'm gonna go with the 2.5 flamingos.
Yeah, this card is like pretty good. It's not amazing by any means, because once again, it's the Voltron. Like you're putting all your eggs in one basket, and then also you only have access to colorless spells, which is kind of a disadvantage. But this card is just, there are some cards that give you advantage for just using colorless spells and reward you for that. Not enough to make it like to offset it, but this card is just pretty solid as a Voltron commander, and I think is probably the most popular one if I had to guess. And its ability, it has built-in protection, but your idea with this one is just to attack an opponent and just knock him out with commander damage.
Elshnorn. Okay. 4 neutral, 1 white, vigilance. If a permanent entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. Permanent entering the battlefield don't cause abilities of permanents your opponent control to trigger. Okay, so just don't want to double check. Can you give me an example of what a permanent would be? Just to have more context
yeah, I
here?
should probably say that. Actually, before we do that, can we have a moment of silence for Elshnorn, who died in the lore recently? Okay, that's enough. Anyways, so a permanent is anything other than like an instant or sorcery. Anything that I put down on the board that stays there, like a creature for the most part. There's also enchantments that you can put onto the board and they just stay there and they have some kind of effect. If I put some kind of like those buffs that I said, that like equipments and auras that you put onto your commander to make them stronger, those are also permanents.
Okay.
Anything that sticks around the board after you play it.
Oh, interesting. So this is actually, okay, hold on. This is a very value-oriented card. That's pretty insane, isn't it? If a permanent entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent, you control the trigger. The ability triggers an additional time. That has to be, wow. Because you're definitely going to build your deck around this card. I'm seeing a pattern here. This looks like it's mana cheating a little bit because you're getting an additional trigger. 5 out of 5. 4 out of 5.
Yeah, so that is pretty much spot on. People wanted this card to be banned from a commander when it released, or to be nerfed specifically for commander. Because this card wasn't even designed for commander, it's designed for standard. And in standard, it could be pretty powerful, but in commander, it is absolutely broken and horrible if your opponent is playing this. People might not want to play with you or be your friend.
What card's worse, this one or the mana cheating guy that you play?
This one's definitely worse.
Okay.
Because at least with the mana cheating guy, I don't screw with what my opponents are trying to do.
It's not banned? This card isn't banned yet?
Not in Commander, because like Commander is like such a casual format, it's not played competitively. Or that's not completely true, but for the most part, people are playing it just casually. So I would say to some extent, this card, it has some level of social contract of please don't play it.
Yeah.
But
please don't play it. So
that's what a lot of Commander is just please don't do this. All right, here's the last one. This one I mentioned before, it is a pair of partner commanders. So with partner commanders, you can choose any other card that has partner on it, and then you can combine both of those. Here is a somewhat popular option for partnering commanders.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, they get both of the effects of these cards?
It pretty much, you have 2 commanders, and then you can play either one or both whenever you want.
In the command zone, there can be both of them as well, or?
Yep, you can have both of them.
Okay. Kodama, 4 neutral.
Kodama of the East Tree.
2 green. Reach. Whenever another permanent enters the battlefield under your control, it wasn't put onto the battlefield with this ability, you may put a permanent card with equal or lesser converted mana cost from your hand onto the battlefield. Partner, you can also have 2 commanders of both of them. Okay. That effect is extremely powerful. So let me just see what the second one is. Oh my god, what is this name? Galanra?
Gilanra. I don't actually know. I'm just saying Gilara, but I don't even think that's right.
Gilara. Okay. 2 neutral, 1 green. Tap. Add green mana. When you spend this mana to cast a spell with converted mana, cost 6 or greater, draw a card. But the partner, so you can have both?
Yep.
What the fuck? Isn't this just broken? It broke 5 out of 5? 4 out of 5?
Not. I would say 4 out of 5 is pretty accurate, honestly. I built these 2 cards. And so I built a deck. It is less than, I think in total it's $8 with these 2 cards, all 100 cards in Commander, which is very cheap for a commander deck.
Right.
And that deck can beat all of my other friends' decks. It is a really solid effect on both of these that combos well together. And yeah, your ability to just cheat out cards. And green is a pretty good color about drawing cards in Magic the Gathering.
Let me just get this straight though. If both of these commanders are in play, this is just endless value until your opponent can respond, right? Because how do you...
It's a pretty high amount of value because, yeah, Kodama of the East Tree is just absolutely insane.
Yeah, that card seems really broken. Like, you don't even need the second one. Like, as long as you have that card, you're chilling.
Really? I don't even know why they put partner on Kodama of the East Tree. I'm going to be honest with you. It's that good.
Yeah, it seems like it. Because again, like in Hearthstone, right? If you have a card that says when you play a card, you just get another one, you're mana cheating. Mana cheating is good. This is probably even more insane because it's a permanent, which we don't really have in Hearthstone, right? There's not really like permanent effects.
Yeah.
Which means this is absolutely ridiculous. So basically what you're telling me is Magic the Gathering is not pay to win because I can get this whole deck for $8 and then I'm chilling.
Here's the thing about Commander that's really nice is that if I spend like $500 on a really powerful Commander deck, there's 3 other people. If you're ahead, you get targeted. So part of Commander is also just threat management of like, okay, when do I pop off? When do I make a big play? And so there's one other card. I'll just put it in the chat again so you can see it.
Sure.
Soul Ring. People who play Soul Ring on turn 1 usually lose the game.
Because they just get targeted.
Yeah, because they end up getting really far ahead on turn 1, and then they just get targeted.
Is Commander the most popular game mode in Magic then? Because it's
yes, I believe so.
Makes sense. Okay.
The reason that Commander is so like successful is that you have that in-person aspect, and there's so many dynamics and shifting things that happen within a game. The video I just sent you is if you want to see what a Commander game is kind of like.
It looks hectic. It looks super hectic. Yeah. Like you need to be there in person. Also, like, I guess the mechanics of the game make it extremely hard to code because there's so much you can interact in so many different ways, right? Like it would be such a nuisance to do it. I was thinking to myself, like, I'm surprised Hearthstone doesn't have a 4v or like a 4 game mode, but I think it makes sense in terms of just how this is designed, right?
I remember you said like, yeah, you're a coder too. I am too. The rulebook for Magic is, I've looked at it, it's like more than 150 pages. It's absolutely absurd the amount of things that can happen. And then you have, there's a video I watched about non-deterministic combos and stuff like that can pop up. And there's just worse, like an absurd, like most of it never ends up popping up. Like very rarely do me and my friends have to look up stuff in the rulebook. But the thing is that they can happen and they are just absolutely insane for the rules. I would not want to code that.
Yeah, you have to make so many like if statements and clauses just in case something happens. Yeah, it'd be a mess. It'd be awful.
I would love to see what the code looks like for Magic the Arena because I'm sure it is abhorrent.
Yeah, it's probably rough. It's probably really rough. It's probably why it took them so long to build like a decent client for the game too, right? Hearthstone's a lot straightforward, so it makes sense why it was easier to code. But Magic, I can't even imagine.
Obviously, I don't know. Maybe there's just a way you can do it from the ground up that's like really good coding practice and whatnot and just have everything make sense. But to my knowledge, it'd be very brutal.
It'd be miserable. No, 100%, dude. I 100% agree with you.